4:30 a.m., 6 days a week is how I start my day. I take a day of rest on Sunday for my faith as well as for my body, just to rest. That's something that really helps me be able to wake up early every day, accomplish something, but then get the necessary rest I need. The reason I wake up early is to push myself in my own creativity, in my own time, and just really develop my personal brand and side work that I really enjoy most. So that's why I get up early and then jump into the normal day, get breakfast, spend some time with my wife before heading off to work each morning. So it's about 7:30, just dropped off my wife, and now I'm heading into the office to get started for the day. So normally a typical day would be, the 4:30 to 6:30, spending time on the personal bit, spending time working with freelance stuff or the YouTube channel. I just see as creatives, like I said, we always need a creative expression outside of work. I love what I do, but I still need to just be pushing forward something of my own. So I really enjoy that time. But now I'm going to get into the office and start working on the daily graphic design stuff. So I'll see y'all there in a little bit. Alright, it's about 8 o'clock, just getting started here for the day. So we're going to head on down to my office, get set up, and dive into some day-to-day design work. One of the biggest recommendations I have for you as I'm getting settled in here this morning is to set a plan for yourself the night before whenever you leave the office. So that way when you come in the next day, you're not just opening up your email, responding to things, trying to put out other people's fires. You have a plan and you can jump in and be productive right off the bat. I find that if I open my email, I get on many rabbit trails and I don't accomplish anything really purposeful until like 30 minutes into my workday. So set a plan for yourself so you can dive in right away and really knock out some good work. It's time to get into the workday. So one of our members just got here. We're gonna do a photo shoot of her for the up and coming missionary retreat. She's doing a talk and she needs a profile picture and stuff like that. So we're gonna go to the studio right now and take a few photos. And that's one of the cool things about what I do here at Globe as a graphic designer is it's not just the typical graphic design, maybe layout, logo, and typography. It's doing photo shoots, it's working with email marketing, it's doing some WordPress design, it's spearheading a YouTube channel. We're actually coming out with a YouTube channel for the organization. So where I sit, I'm more of a jack of all trades in the graphic design realm, but maybe if you're in an agency that's larger, you'll just have one task. Or maybe if you're in a smaller agency like myself, you will have multiple hats to be worn. So I hope you're getting the gist of, as we're working throughout the day, what it takes and just what your day will be as a graphic designer. So not a lot of places have full-scale printing, but that is also another one of my responsibilities here, is getting the printing all taken care of. So we print all of our newsletters and properties in-house. So whether it be brochures, newsletters, these giving slips here, all that gets printed in-house. So as you see, jack of all trades, wearing many hats. Maybe this will be your experience as a graphic designer. Maybe it won't be. Maybe you'll have, like I said, a singular task. But for me here, if you can hear me over the printer, I have many different tasks to take on. So my thing is never be afraid to expand your skills. Keep working to grow as a graphic designer, whether that be in print production or digital media or shooting videos, whatever that may be. Always be ready to stretch and grow what you're doing. And I feel like that is super important. No day in the life would be complete without checking out what we got for lunch here. A little sweet potato in the oven. And it'll be ready in just a few minutes, but first, it's time to work out. Alright, well I skipped showing you the workout because you're here to see what I do as a graphic designer, not how I work out. So that's finished, and now I'm going to go grab some lunch. Alright, now while I go grab some lunch, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my background, how I got started in graphic design, so you don't have to sit through all my lunch stuff. I'll just tell you why you're here, and that's what the daily life of a graphic designer is, and also some tips and tricks and different things that I've learned along my way to becoming a graphic designer at a full-time organization. Alright, so let's talk about a day in the life of a graphic designer. What are you going to be doing on the day-to-day? You've seen a little bit of my day so far. Get up early, work on some freelance stuff, and like I said, that's something that's super important. You need to always be pushing, always growing your skills as a graphic designer. When you go into a job, chances are you're going to be doing something specific for that person or for that company. So you might lose track of some of the other skills or some of the other things you really enjoy doing. I love video, I love taking pictures, which is why I started this channel, which is why I wake up really early every morning to work on that channel. So make sure you have a side gig. That's something important, I think, just to harness your creativity, because a lot of times I find graphic designers get burnt out because they're not doing the thing that they have always loved and the thing that got them into it at the start. Graphic design on the day-to-day for me is working a lot with layout design. So I work a lot with printed newsletters that go out to all the supporters of all the missionaries and members that we have here at the organization. It also involves creating different campaigns to promote and market this organization. So I do flyers, I'll do web banners, I will work on magazines, etc. So that is something that helps promote the organization. I'm working a lot within Adobe InDesign, Illustrator, and Photoshop. So what I do with those three different programs is I create and edit all of my photo-oriented, pixel-based work within Photoshop. I create any illustrations, any graphics, any logos, any little icons in Illustrator, and then I package all of those things within InDesign and either send them to print or export them for the web. You want to make sure you're using each of the programs to the best of its abilities. You don't want to mix the programs in the wrong way. You don't want to create a logo in Photoshop because then when you blow it up, it'll become very pixelated because Photoshop is a pixel-based program. If you want to learn more about that, I have videos that I've created about that. You can check that out over on the channel or linked up in the YouTube cards above or the description below. Now, what gear are you using here as a graphic designer? Well, we use Dell products here at this organization. I have a Dell XPS 15 as well as a Dell Tower. Again, YouTube cards above, description below if you want to know the ins and outs of what gear you need and the specs that you need to have a well-equipped graphic design setup as far as the gadgets are concerned. The computer does not make the designer. I think that's one of the biggest things when talking about the day in the life of a graphic designer. They're always like, oh, what computer do you use? Do you use this or that? And I think it depends on what you're doing. If you're working a lot within Photoshop, if you're working a lot within video editing, you want to have a really good graphics processor and you want to have a really good processing chip because you're processing a lot of data, a lot of information, big file sizes. Day in the life of the graphic designer is very much problem solving. All right, so you're gonna get a lot of text from somebody, some images, and they're gonna say, okay, assemble this how you think it would work best. So what I'll do is I'll organize the type. I'll create a hierarchy of what they're trying to say within their newsletter or within the promotional piece that we're sending out to promote our organization. I'll get the photo that I feel best conveys that message. You're solving problems, you're innovating, you're looking at things from multiple angles. I spend a lot of time behind the computer, which is why I bought a standing desk, which is why I work out daily in order to make sure that I still have good blood flow, because that helps with creativity. A lot of times I'll be struggling with a design problem. It'll be around lunchtime, I'll pull my mat out, I'll work out, and I'll come back with a fresh mind, and I'll be able to attack that problem, and I'll usually find a solution while I'm working out, and I'll write it down, and then I'll come back to my computer and implement that solution. You need a balanced life as a graphic designer. When spending hours and hours behind a screen, you have to have some hobbies that get you out. That's why I love photography. That's why I bought a drone and I love flying that out at the beach and spending time with my wife, going and biking and doing different things, because you need to get out, you need to freshen your mind, you need to experience the world. Once you get your projects all sketched out, you get everything to a point where it's ready to go from draft and concept into design programs. You want to think about the programs you're going to be using. I think a lot of times graphic designers, or should I say new graphic designers, don't use the programs correctly. So let's just break that down really quickly. Photoshop is going to be for all of your photo manipulation, all of your maybe color tone editing within photos, basically anything to do with images, pixels, things of that nature. Whereas you're going to want to be creating all of your vector objects and things of that nature within Illustrator. And by vector, I mean shapes, just raw shapes. So whether it be, a circle, a square, a combination of squares, whatever it may be, you want to work with shapes in Illustrator. The reason being is that they can scale large to small and without losing quality. So you got to think about somebody you're making a logo for. If you're going to put that logo up on a billboard, or if you're gonna put that logo, in a shop window, you don't want that logo to be pixelated, on a poster or on an advertisement, etc. So that's why you want to work in Illustrator. And then you want to take both of those assets, so the pieces that you've worked on within Illustrator and the pieces that you've worked on within Photoshop, and you want to put them all into InDesign. InDesign is your workhorse. InDesign is where you're finishing, you're preparing, you're putting the final tweaks and settings on things, and then you're sending it to print, or you're creating an image to be put into an email, etc. There's some people who use Photoshop for their web-based projects. I personally don't, just because I like InDesign so much, because I like the way it's structured. It's make sure my lines are straight, and make sure everything's lined up. I like things to be very well organized. So some people use Photoshop for their web stuff. I don't, and maybe that's just because I'm not primarily a web designer. I'm a graphic designer. So that's a recommendation. But that's really the workflow after you've done all your sketching, got everything roughed out, and then you're going to work on your project. So you're going to be working in InDesign, Illustrator, and Photoshop. Those are your main three. The thing is, when it comes to graphic design, you need a balance of skills. You need to see perspective when taking pictures for photography, for the photos and sources you're going to use. You need to be able to work with type. You need to be able to take other people's information and really pull out of them the vision that they're trying to cast and bring that to life. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that new graphic designers make, is that they have all this creativity, they have all these ideas, and they try and push their creativity and their ideas onto people's projects, and you're gonna get a lot of kickback. The reason being is a great graphic designer, this is something I learned from Michael Barut, he says the reason I'm such a good graphic designer is because I know how to pull ideas out of people. When I show up to a meeting, I have no expectations. My only expectation is to bring their idea to life. That is the key. If you learn anything from this video, from this day in the life of a graphic designer, it's that your job is not to be the uber creative super person. Your job is to bring their ideas to life. And that expresses itself through your creativity. But you're not trying to bring your creativity and make it fit their project. You're trying to have their project come to life and share that with them. Golden tip right there. It's something I struggled with for a long time. It's something that really got a lot of my fellow students really mad at their teachers about when we were in design school. They say, well, this teacher just doesn't like what I do. Well, no, he doesn't. So you need to figure out what that teacher likes. You need to figure out what that client likes and do that. If you find this video has been helpful so far, share it out with somebody, comment below, hit that like button, and subscribe to the channel here. And we hope to keep you around. 5 o'clock is when I finish the day's work at my daily graphic design job here at the organization. And then from there, I work till 5:30 on filming some videos for the channel, doing any editing, any cleanup that I need for my personal graphic design and freelance work. And that's what I'll do before I head home and grab some dinner with my wife.